Hey guys, it's Fiona, your former Wattpad and fanfic writer. Today I tried to challenge myself and find out just how many words I can get in 1 hour. These were broken up into both 15-minute and 20-minute sessions. I think the last one was about 25 minutes to make it 60 or near so. I did end up at a resolution that I will get to later. But here is me with the timer on getting my chapter done. I will say one of the big things about the story that being a pantser was great for writing the story, understanding characters better, and just coming up with cliffhangers, which it is. It's great for that. However, I've lost the plot, and I had a little cheat sheet thing where I kind of wrote my plot points and like a chapter by chapter, which I currently can't find. I know I still have it. I just have to find where it is. But I've been writing these chapters, and honestly, the way that they've come out because I haven't been following a script is kind of off the rails, guys. I know I said doing the pantser method is good, but if you're someone like me who can totally lose track of the plot of the story, please try and have a little bit of an outline. Not too much that you're so rigid about your story and it has to be a certain way, but enough that you know where you're going. Because I've kind of lost track of that, and I feel like right now what I'm writing in the chapters is just like, okay, how can I fit in this character's backstory or how they are? Which again, this is a first draft. As we all know, the famous first drafts are absolutely awful in any story, typically. I am not expecting this story's first draft to be good by any means. No. That is not what we're here for. We are here for the ugly, the word vomit, anything that just comes out of the plate. If I were to if I were to hand this book at this stage to anyone to read, I would be embarrassed, because it is just a bunch of little stories packed together at this point that really don't make much sense. I don't even know if you can see the end in sight at this point. Which is why I really love revising stories. Let me know if any of you guys feel this way. I love when there's already words written for chapters and then I edit it, because I find that's when I do the description, that's when I add the witty dialogue. I don't know if you guys can even read it from the screen, but if you can read any of this, please don't judge me as a writer based on what I'm writing here. This is, again, me getting thoughts on a paper. So if you're wondering why I decided to kind of time myself and see how many words I can get out per chapter, my aim is to get to about 50 chapters, I think, for the story and see how it is from there. I try to calculate, depending how many words I wrote, how many chapters I would have to write to hit 50. I try to do the calculations that way. Doesn't mean I'll follow them, but I just kind of put into perspective how much time I would need to finish the first draft. I'm really trying to finish this, not as fast as I can, but to really grind it out, because I feel like when it comes to writing, let me know if you guys are like this too, I can become a big procrastinator because writing is sometimes scary and intimidating. It's that whole, is this good enough? Does this sound stupid? Which it's so hard when you're at this stage to get your brain to shut up sometimes. You're gonna critique everything. I've done 15 minutes with just about 600 words, so I'm gonna try to complete a full hour and see how many I can get to. That's why I like to use like this whole word vomit method where I'm just like, doesn't matter how dumb the dialogue is, doesn't matter if the characters are a little wonky, doesn't matter if there's no description of anything at this moment, because I know in the future I will rewrite it and it'll be 1,000 times better. So that's what I've got with this first chapter, which I'm hoping that if I just turn my brain off enough, I can get something out and then work on draft 2. What I learned from doing this experiment is I can write a pretty decent amount of words in an hour. Of course, staying focused is one of my hardest things for me to do here because honestly, especially at home, it's so easy to be distracted by everything. Like hunker down and just get myself to stay writing for an hour felt like a lot in the first few minutes, but after you kind of get into the swing of it, it becomes a lot easier. I do want to hear though in the comments, guys, if you're up for it. I have a challenge for you to see how many words you can write per hour. And I don't want this to be like a session where you edit or you try to think really hard. I want you to take either a story you have or a prompt you have and just see how much you can write in an hour. And try to do the thing where you turn off your brain and you just write whatever. Honestly, when I'm in these kind of sessions and I'm writing, half the time they don't make much sense. I'm literally writing from the top of my head, like just random scenes, like, oh, maybe he has to go there, and then they go upstairs and then they talk about like this part, and like ideas kind of just spark like that. I especially like how the idea of having characters move into different rooms, because usually the scenery can affect how the scene goes. I like to try that, but I'd like to challenge you guys. Tell me, how many words can you write in an hour? Because this was an interesting experiment. I especially want to push myself, I think, one day to try and maybe do like 7-8 hours of writing. I feel like that's a lot. But if I want to treat writing kind of like a career, I should definitely act like it is a career. Not that published writers or full-time authors go and do a 9-to-5 kind of thing. But you know, I'm curious to see how much I can get done. Maybe I'll get the whole story done by then. I only probably have, I want to say in my story, I am about maybe more than half the way through. I know I said chapter 25 to 50, which is about halfway through, but that's kind of a give or take kind of thing. And since I actually found my outline for the chapter by chapter, I think this will help make it go a lot smoother. This was a fun little experiment to see how fast I could write, how much I could get down on the page, and I'm especially excited to kind of go over how the chapter went. Maybe I'll share with you guys in a future video one of these kind of like chapters where it goes through really fast. These are the kind of chapters that I like to write not to necessarily make sense, but to kind of get stuff out. These chapters might not even make it to the final cut, guys. I like to think of the first draft as the part of the story where I figure out what the characters are like. Their personalities kind of unfold at this stage, so I think the first few chapters I have different personality traits for characters than I do at like chapter 25. They've definitely changed and grown, which is my big thing, but yeah, maybe I'll review that future video for you guys if you're interested. That could be fun. Anything like that, I don't know. But yes, I'm almost done with the timer here, and I think the challenge I'm almost done with. It was a lot of fun to try this. Very different of me trying to time it. I normally don't do this. If your word count is better than mine, then congrats. But if it's not, don't feel bad. I'm a little older. I've done a lot of writing on Wattpad, fanfic, everywhere, so I think I kind of have the hang of writing a few more words than most people can in 1 hour. It's been another 20 minutes, so 35 in total, and I have roughly 1,424 words. I'm gonna do another session of 20 minutes maybe, just to see how a full hour goes. I want to see how many words I can do in 1 hour. Typically with these chapters, I do about 2,000 words each chapter, at the very least, is normally my goal. That's a sweet spot for me. We'll see. Again, this chapter, I don't really have a plan of where it's going. I'm just trying to kind of write to see where the story's going, because as I've said in the past, that kind of works for me. Just kind of being a pantser, at least for the first draft, and then kind of going in with the second draft with way more edits and trying to figure out where the story's going from a technical point, actually planning it. For now, yeah, I have this many words. I'm going to try and see altogether how many words I can also write per hour, because that might be interesting. This is the last bit of the challenge I gave myself. It was not a full hour. I think I scraped by to like 50 to 55 minutes or something in total for the timers I had, but roughly I think this is how fast I would be writing a chapter. Interesting experiment to see how much I can push myself. Very good for a first draft. I'm sure when I do the edits of my story, I will not be flying this fast through chapters. I wish it was that simple, because honestly, I'd probably write a book in like a month or two. Which, by the way, these authors, I've heard some authors write books in like, 3 months and 6 weeks and 1 month. And I'm like, how? I can't even imagine doing that. I don't know if I spend too much time with my characters, if I'm just slow, if I'm too busy, unmotivated, like uninspired. I don't know, but I've heard stories where authors can just crank out these stories. And I'm like, I wish I could do that so much. Oh my goodness. Do you guys struggle with this? Is it easier for you? Because it's not. Although I do remember my Wattpad story, I think each chapter took me roughly an hour to write. They were shorter than my word count here, but also they were unedited. So I got to 50 chapters. I should see. Next video I'll look up to see how long it took me to finish that story, guys. But generally, that's what we're looking at here. Again, I didn't use the full amount of time here because I kind of hit where I wanted the chapter to end at this time. So the total word count ended up being 1,949. Not exactly 2,000, but pretty close, especially when I add details later on into the story. I'm happy with that for now. And I even had 9 minutes to spare. Not bad, I think, for a chapter. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and how many words I was able to crank out in one chapter. And I hope you stick around and follow me in the next one. Bye!